Welcome to Business Not 101, hosted by me, Olivier Bousset, founder, entrepreneur, podcast creator. In this episode, we explore the founder's journey from their aha moment to the roadblocks and problems, to what they would have done differently in hindsight, and the unique solutions they came up with. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, Nini. Welcome to Business Not 101. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Olivier. It's nice to be here. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Let's jump right into it. So please introduce yourself and give us your 60-second business pitch.
Sure. Well, my name is Nini Obiaga, and I am the owner and founder of Neoterik HR Solutions. And what I am is a fractional HR director. What I do is modern HR for small and medium sized businesses. And really, what that means is just setting up systems and a foundation that helps businesses scale and scale sustainably and predictably too. So, what I do is at Neoterik is to develop communication and documentation, things like handbooks, creating recruitment systems that suit your brand. And I walk side by side with you to make sure that the tools that you have are appropriate for your business. So really it's making sure that small and medium-sized businesses have the same HR access and tools that larger organizations have. And they have it sort of in-house and it costs them so much less. So that's what I like to do.
That sounds so interesting and something that a lot of small companies and medium-sized companies need because a lot of them don't have an HR department.
Absolutely.
So what was the aha moment that brought you to launch this business?
Well, I was working in a corporate job, and I remember just thinking about a more efficient way to do HR. And I know not everybody puts HR and efficient in the same sentence, but I was thinking about a more efficient way to do certain things. And I started to develop just a process and some systems to make things, go smoother and have issues along the way. And after testing this and actually implementing it, I found it cut my work in half, and I pretty much worked myself out of a job at that point. And so it, that was my aha moment that HR can be done efficiently. You just need the right systems, you just need the right processes in place, and you need to implement them properly. And that's what efficient HR is to me. And so, yeah, that was my aha moment. And I thought, I see that small and medium-sized businesses don't have this support. Don't usually they just fly by the seat of their pants. So it's being proactive. It's being able to give them get their creative ideas and put them into something that's legislatively sound as well.
Yeah, that's a really great point. That's something that a lot of companies don't have necessarily an employee handbook and a process on how to deal with employees. So, what's one of the biggest roadblocks you've encountered starting your business?
Well, one of the roadblocks is I think it's just education because a lot of times small businesses expect that once you say the words HR consultant, you're talking huge bucks, you're talking, just a huge commitment. And that's why I call myself an HR, a fractional HR director, because you get to do things at your own pace. And so that was a roadblock for me because it was educating businesses and letting them know, no, there is another way to do this. You don't have to hire in-house if you're still growing, if you're still small and you just need to get certain things right. You could have someone on the outside who's kind of also on the inside helping you.
Yeah, that's great. So, looking at your business, and I assume you work alone, and do you have any other employees, or is it just you yourself?
Well, I'm at the stage where I'm looking to get employees, and it's one of the harder parts for an entrepreneur because you're looking for someone who actually thinks a lot like you, not completely like you, but thinks a lot like you in terms of values, in terms of building up certain systems and structures within the company. So I'm at that stage where it's getting to the point where I need someone, at least an employee at this point, who understands HR, who understands how to write things and communicate in a certain way. And yeah, so yes, I typically work on my own because I like to make sure that it's exactly what the client wants. But yes, I'm at that stage of growth.
Sort of, it fits really well into my next question, which is now you're at the cusp of your business where you're about to hire. So, what kind of employee are you looking for? Are you looking for sales? Are you looking for marketing? Are you looking for growth? Or are you looking for technical support? Somebody's going to go and help you and do the same thing as you to sort of amplify your business. So which one would it be?
It's a unicorn. Anyway, I'm actually looking for, someone who has some HR background or interest in HR, but also has an entrepreneurial mindset. And so, yes, that gets into things like business development and, knowing exactly how to, if you will, market HR to a small or medium-sized to a business in such a way that it appeals to them, right? And they do have the know-how of how to implement things for those businesses. So, yeah, it's sort of like that. There's a sales aspect to it, but there's also the main thing about knowing what HR is about. And you don't have to know everything. It's at least knowing the basics.
That's true. And it is very difficult when you have your first employee. So a lot of people I know, including myself, we use virtual assistants and we segregate them to one task. It's very difficult to find somebody who can do multiple tasks, like somebody who's going to be really good at marketing and then
Yeah,
sales. It's like, it's almost like good luck finding that person.
yeah.
But it is something that's very difficult for small businesses and certainly freelancers and solo entrepreneurs moving to that small business realm. So I feel you. It's really difficult. There's no clear answer.
It's hardly
But this
ever.
leads me to my next question, which is, what is one thing about working as a freelancer and a solo entrepreneur at this point that you really dislike?
It's doing everything yourself.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because certain aspects of the business aren't big enough to actually outsource, reasonably well. So it's having to do a lot of things yourself. Like, but then again, the advantage to that is that you're able to, kind of look into your accounting. Even if you dislike accounting, you look into your accounting, you see what's going on there, and it gives you a snapshot of what you should be doing. When it comes to marketing, I don't love social media that much, I can tell you, and those are things that I still have to do, and so those are aspects that I'm so ready to farm out, and I have started actually. But yeah, those are aspects that I would rather not do. But yeah, as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, you start to learn all these little things here and there, and at least you have an idea of how they work. And just as you run your business, and the time will come when you don't, or you almost don't touch those things, but at least you know what they're about. So
Yeah, that's 100% true. And it's interesting. I actually have a friend who hires entrepreneurs and freelancers who sort of like decided they no longer want to do that. They want to work in the corporate world. And he looks for people like that because he says they can do everything because they've seen everything. He says, whereas
absolutely.
if you hire somebody who's only been in that field, they know exactly their field, but it's hard to get them to move a little bit around that.
That's so true, actually.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, being an entrepreneur is like its own business school. Like you can't learn that in school. This is why
No,
the podcast came about because there's so many things people just cannot understand. Schools cannot get you ready for this.
no.
All right. So next question. How did you get your first customer?
My first customer was a referral, actually, just through my network. And it was just someone who'd known me in the corporate world and what I'd worked on and things like that, and realized, oh, I actually have my business and I'm beginning to grow, and I need these kinds of things, or at the very least, I need some support. And so I started, just working on some things, and in some cases on a pro bono basis, because I was just starting out my business and understanding things, and so it started building from there. And that was also when I realized, oh, there are a lot of needs for small and medium sized businesses when it comes to HR. And like I said earlier, it ends up being, yes, there's the education piece, letting them know, no, you don't have to, you know cook up stuff yourself from the internet. There are certain things that you need to do properly. And so that was where it all started. But it really came from referrals and through my own network, my own business network as well.
That's great. And what is one of your primary tools to get new customers? Is it still referrals, or are you actively seeking them out, or are you looking for services that would help you find new customers?
Well, it's a combination of those things. I get referrals, and referrals are one of the strongest tools that could be used, because you kind of skip a whole bunch of steps when you have those referrals. But I also make sure that I do the marketing, whether it's on LinkedIn, I'm reaching out to businesses as well to see if there is some synergy where I could help them. And of course, being a part of different kinds of networks in terms of those that are either just purely for business to business networks, or just like those that actually do, what's it called now? Well, networking groups. Yes, that's what I meant. Networking groups, and you find all kinds of people like yourself who might be solopreneurs but know someone who needs your kind of service. So that's how the marketing is done, and it's been successful that way. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. BNI is one of those networking business groups that's great
Mm-hmm.
for small and medium sized businesses I found across Canada. They're
Mm-hmm.
local chapters. So it's really a great way to amplify your business. Yeah. And you know what? Referrals is word of mouth is one of the best marketing tools. I think
Absolutely,
it's
it
almost
is.
impossible for people. If you don't have that, it's really difficult for you to grow your business. So I agree with you there.
Yeah.
And it's sort of moving along in your fields in HR. What excites you in that you see that's going to moving forward, and what makes you nervous? I was talking to somebody about the Great Resignation. Everybody's sort of quitting their jobs and changing, which is great, I guess, for HR people, to help them find new employees, and certainly recruiters. But there's also a dark side for HR departments having to deal with
Mm-hmm.
employees leaving for, let's say, or money or better, like better opportunities. So what excites you about your business, and you see coming up in the next few years?
Well, yes, the Great Resignation has actually had a profound effect in the business world. And one of the things it's caused businesses to do is to actually step back and see, well, what are we doing wrong, and what should we be doing at this point in time? Because so much has changed, whether it's in terms of all the movements out there, and just from the last couple of years through with COVID, and how things have changed to remote work or hybrid and all of that kind of stuff. And yes, people or employees have realized, oh, I do have more choices. And if you can't give me what I'm looking for, I'm going to go somewhere else. And so it's been one of those times where it makes it, it's exciting to me because, again, you get to revamp all your policies here, for instance. And sometimes it's just even revamping what your values are, because if you want people aligned to what you believe in, you really have to communicate that properly to potential employees or to candidates. So yes, like you said, it's a good thing that some people leave at some point in time, but I find too that it's been a challenge for some companies just finding the right people for their organizations. And I think it's just a time where it's a time of reflection, reviewing things, and again, just looking for ways to move forward positively in the business world. That's how I look at it at this point.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So what do you tell your customers, like in terms of engagement with their employees, on how to retain them? Do you have a program to say, hey guys, you need to start looking at wellness, so you need to start looking at employee benefits or something?
Mhm.
Are you able to guide your customers and to say this is the best way to retain your top talent? Is this something you're doing actively? Yeah.
For sure, for sure. With every business, it's unique, it's different, right? And I think, again, yes, there are ways to, if you will, entice candidates or employees to your company, but don't overdo it. There's a whole aspect of benefits. There's a whole aspect of the wellness programs, and those are important to people, or ability to work remotely. But then, being an entrepreneur myself, I think about the cost aspects. Not every business can afford everything. And sometimes it's just, okay, well, let's do this piece now and start to think about, this other piece in the next few months. Think about this other piece, right? Just as you can manage it, because you don't want to go all in and then it blows up in your face, and then you've lost all this money, almost doing nothing, right? And so I look at it on a case by case basis to make sure that the business that I'm working with, and the people that they want to attract are actually go hand in hand with their offerings. And sometimes businesses don't have it, but I've worked with a business where just our recruitment process and how each candidate was treated made such a difference, even though we didn't have a whole bunch of benefits. When we, ended up rejecting one client, or one, sorry, a candidate, a lot of them came back applying for roles within that same company because they actually gave us the feedback that they really did enjoy the process. So it's those little things that I look at and I try to work with that are unique to that organization.
That's really interesting. And it does have a big benefit, I think, on an organization who doesn't have the financial means to play, like, say, the Google size, but
Hmm.
that they've created an infrastructure that really sort of resounds with employees or potential
Yeah.
employees. So I think it's not that many, though, unfortunately. I wish there was more, but I see a lot of companies struggle with that. So,
Yes.
which is good for you because that means there's going to be a long-term employment opportunities in HR in Canada.
Exactly.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit and get to know you as an entrepreneur a little bit more. So the next questions I'm going to ask about how you are as an entrepreneur. So I'm going to start off with, what is one thing that makes you really productive that you do?
One of the things, actually, I have a couple of things. It's waking up early, and early is relative. I know everybody has their early times, right? But I wake up probably about 5:30 in the morning, and then I get up to meditate, to pray, and that's how my day just gets defined and gets started. I make my bed every day. It doesn't matter. Every single day. And that's just my habit now. And one of the other things that I do as well is actually just making sure that I plan my week at the beginning of the week. That helps me so much. And it makes me just more focused. Yes, every single day like I put down my to-do list. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I put my to-do list each day. And there have been times where I didn't get to everything on my to-do list. So what I do the next time I'm doing my to-do list on the next day is I actually put times in there. And that's just for me. That helps me to be able to say, okay, 8 o'clock to 8:15, I'm doing this. 9:15 to 10:20, I'm doing this, and stop once that time is up. So it does help me. So it just keeps me disciplined, because as an entrepreneur, your time is yours, but you could get so indisciplined that you don't accomplish much. So those are my guardrails, if you will, and it really does help me.
Yeah, that's really good. That's great points. Certainly, meditation in the early morning is something that, I do journaling first thing in the morning just to get rid of anything that was in my mind and then sort of clear my day.
That's
And
good.
time blocking. I think that for me, time blocking, I always tell people, is one of the best things because you sort of create these little top tasks and block time and just do it.
Hmm.
And I have a little timer and I set, 15, 20 or 60 minutes and I just set that and it goes off once I'm done and I stop and I take a break. Because otherwise you get caught up in little moments and then next thing you know, the whole day's gone. You're like, what did I do? I think I sent one email, but I talked to 20 people about the same thing. So yeah, I hear you.
You are speaking my language.
I think every entrepreneur and every freelancer has that struggle. And this leads to my next question. Where do you see your business in 2, 5 years? Do you see it growing? Do you see you're still going to remain in the same, sort of small field, or are you going to go expand nationally on it?
Well, right now I work more nationally just because everything is virtual. So my expectation is to go international. And again, there's certain things, there's certain systems that are universal within, building up those systems like I mentioned earlier, and giving them that foundation so that they can grow on it. That's what I want to do for businesses more internationally, as well. Just there's certain aspects of HR that, yeah, there are legislative. You've got to know the laws of the land and things like that. And again, like, that's part of research, and that's a lot of what I do, even locally or provincially and things like that. You always have to do research to make sure that it's right. And so my whole thing, my whole way of doing business is making sure that my clients have the right information every time, and that's always research. So whether it's nationally or internationally, it's the same thing. Again, it's getting partners outside of my local zone, just so that you have that whether it's the comfort that you're doing it right or whether it's just having the right people in the right regions that you can work with and accomplish even more. So that's part of where I'm going in the next few years. Yes.
That's really interesting. Are you planning to sort of create, like, how do you replicate yourself? Because you're now, even if you hire a few people, are you planning on sort of training each new hire to become you and sort of working territories? Or are you planning to sort of stay in one location and just grow your team so that you become the center point, but they take care of the work behind you?
Wow, that's a great question. And it could be done either way, actually. It's easier, yes, when you have, people locally and you can just, just kind of reach out to them. But I think with the way things have been, like I said, over the past few years and working remotely and things like that, it's so easy to be able to find that person outside of your local area. So yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And it just kind of like makes me think more about the best ways to do it because there isn't one cookie cutter way of growing your business, especially when you're a virtual or remote business. It's great to have people, like I said, it's great when people are around you, but it's also great when you have people in other regions who understand what you're doing. So that would be the challenge, really, is, for lack of a better word, cloning yourself across regions, across provinces or states or things like that. It's one of those questions that kind of hangs there. But I think to start, it would probably start local at this point with getting a local person. But great one, yeah. Thanks.
Thanks. I always try to ask one question that I get. That's a great question. I mean, to really make you think. I love it.
You did it.
So this sort of leads me to the next question, which is one of my favorite questions. What is one business book or book that's influenced you in your business that you would recommend people to say, you need to read this book? It really helped me.
I have one book, well, two books really, but I'll just mention this one here. It's the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And I think it's a wonderful book. It's something that I am committing to reading over again because, of course, you miss some things. But it's a book that just really does help you develop good habits as an entrepreneur, and it reinforced some of the habits that I already had. And so it was great to read that book. The E Myth by Michael Gerber is a good one as well. And it just taught me some. They covered pretty much everything in business from accounting to HR to understanding how to talk to people and the very very simple stuff. But it's a really good book to read, and yeah, those are repeats for me.
Excellent. Two great books. Two great books. I really like them. Next question. If you can have coffee with any entrepreneur, who would it be and why?
That's a nice one. You know what? I would want to have coffee with Sarah Blakely. She's the founder of Spanx. And honestly, I just want to understand how she thought her concept was going to be successful at all. That's what I want to know, because I mean, she is so successful at this, and it's not like there were like solutions to the Spanx problem, if you will. It wasn't like there was nothing in the market, and I'm thinking, why would you just sit down and do this? Yes, there's women always want that better image and body figure and all that stuff, but I just that's what I want to ask her. How did you do this, and how did you believe in yourself enough to keep going at this? So she's somebody I want to sit with and
That's a
have a
great one.
coffee.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I follow her and on social media because she pops up a lot. It's certainly
Hmm.
around women entrepreneurs, and a lot of people sort of feel the same way you feel. Like, how did this become? And I think she really explained it well once by saying, right time, right place,
Mm,
right group of people, and the right actions created this. And I think that's really important. And overall, as an entrepreneur, she's really fun to sort of like her whole story. So
yeah.
great
I,
pick.
well, and again, those just what you said, the right time, right place, and the right opportunity. I mean, you could just look at it as something that, yeah, that's all well and good, but I want detail if I ever talk to her, because I mean, we
The
could all say
roadmap.
that. I want
Yeah.
that roadmap.
Exactly, exactly. I feel you. I feel that for entrepreneurs. Whenever I listen to some of them, the ones that are more famous, they make it sound like they just got up one day and just jumped in and it was
Yeah.
there. And you're like, wait, I want to know
No.
exactly, detail it. Like, could you send it to me? I want to know. All right, last question. How can
Sure.
people reach you? Like through LinkedIn? What's the best way to come and connect with you?
Well, one of the best ways is, well, my company website is neoterichr.com, and it's spelled neoterikhr.com. And you can always schedule a call with me, schedule, just a discovery meeting, anything there. But as well, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so it's at neoterichr as well. And on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. I'm very active on there. So you could search with my name, Nini Obiaga, or my company, Neoterik HR Solutions. So lots of ways to find me. And again, email is great, Nini at neoterichr.com.
Perfect. And we'll be putting that on the show notes so people can reach out to you. I want to
Absolutely.
thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. It was a pleasure to have you on.
I enjoyed talking to you, Olivia. It's been great. And I hope I pronounced your name right. But anyway, but yeah, no, I had a great time talking with you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us today and listening to this episode of Business Not 101. I hope that this interview gave you some valuable insights and that will help you along your business journey. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to reach out to me. And as always, please like, share, and follow. Thank you. Until next episode.